Hi, Marv Cecil here enjoying the Tri-5 show here in Bowling Green. We brought out the Moroccos today. They're featuring them at the show. I'm lucky enough to have three of them, two 1957s and one 1956. I got my first 57 Chevy convertible in 1962. Still have it, still with me, enjoying it. But after a few years, I got digging into old Chevys and I found out that they'd made a car, kind of a custom car that was made in Detroit called an El Morocco. So I started looking. There was no internet, no computers, nothing. I was on the old dial phone and calling everybody that was in any clubs or anything, asking anything on an El Morocco. Through my searching and diligence, I got a few leads, found the first one that was kind of smitten in, shall we say, and I thought, well, there's got to be others out there. So I went out, kept searching, looking, and once you have one and get some interest out there, then some other guys start thinking, oh, I kind of remember that, and all at once there was the internet, computers, and things blossomed, and it became much easier to find them. There was a gentleman in Detroit, he was a surplus dealer. He would buy a new Eldorado convertible every year, and he said, you know, everybody would like to have one of these. He looked at a 55 Chevy and he says, you know, I think I can make that look like a Cadillac Eldorado convertible. Didn't get anything done in 55, but by 56, the dream was fulfilling, shall we say. And when the 56 Chevy came out, it had a bit of a fin, more like the Cadillac style. So he got together with some companies in Detroit that was building cars for people like Packard, making some show cars and so on, and got the parts made. So he just began, he took 56 Chevy and modified it. He began with the front. He changed the front. They put the what they called back in the day Dagmars on it, the big scoops like the Cadillac had, and they happened to be a Chevy truck headlight turned around backwards to make it look like that. So that pretty much took care of the front end. But then on the rear and the side, they changed the trim. This, of course, is 57. It's different than the 56. And they put the fins on to duplicate the fin on the Cadillac. Had the kind of fake flow-through exhaust system on it. More the Cadillac design rear bumper with the taillights. These here being, this part here is from a Dodge. This here is a Plymouth taillight that he cut down. The guy there, again, he was in the surplus business, and he had a lot of parts and pieces that he tried to use up, or find things that were on the shelf so he didn't have to have them remade, so to speak. On the interior of the car is original, the upholstery, the carpeting, and so on. The only changes they made was when he built them on the steering wheel, he put a little leather patch on there and said who the car was built especially for. And then over on the dash, he put a little plate that says El Morocco on it. Now, nowhere on this car is there a Chevrolet emblem or the name Chevrolet, Bel Air, or anything. Drivetrain has not been modified. They didn't do a thing under the hood. They all had power pack engines, that's the 4-barrel carburetor. Several of them had air conditioning. We don't know why, because he tried to buy the most reasonable Chevys he could because he didn't want to get raise the expense of building the car. Air conditioning back in the day, they tell me, added about 20 to 25% cost to the car. Although they all had the good heater, all had a radio, they were all automatic, 283s, Now we're talking about 57s, of course. I had the 283s. The 56s, same thing, didn't change anything, only they had the 265s. This color was a factory color. He didn't change the colors. There's some literature out there, some people think that he made them only in Cadillac colors. I actually sat next to a man in his house who actually physically built them, and he explained, he told me, he says, no, he says, we didn't change colors on cars. He said, we minimally painted them from the work that we did. He says, we didn't want to repaint any cars. We had to keep the expenses down. So I'm lucky enough, I guess it's luck, that I'm able to own 3 of these. I have 2 57s, the other 57 being a hardtop, black and silver, and then I have a 56, an original remaining 56 convertible. Talked to the gentleman that actually built these, and we talked about how many. There's talk out there, some people will say they built 1,000 of them, and he just really scoffed at that. He says, look, I built them. He says, we built 16 1956 El Moroccos. Then he left, the guy that was building the El Moroccos, moved to Los Angeles, but he stayed in touch with all his friends that were still working for the company. He says, Marv, he says, they built probably 18, maybe 19 or maybe 17. He says, but I'm saying they built 18 57s, and he says, that's pretty much final. He said, there was no 30s or 40s or 100s or even, like one claimed 1,000 of them probably built. I don't take him to many shows. It has to be a large show, but my wife seems to think that it's time to divest of these beauties, so we're thinking of going the other way with them. We enjoy them, don't take them out very often, but when we do, we enjoy the people that look at them and they say, wow, I didn't even know these things existed. Some of them say, I've heard about them for 30 or 40 years, but I've never ever seen one of them. That's pretty much the story on the El Morocco.